happy Tuesday, everyone. My name is meteorologist Heather Kane. It's time for our daily hail forecast, sponsored as always by C3 Group, Merlin Law Group, American Contractors Show, as well as Atlas Roofing. Thank you guys, as always, for sponsoring our videos. So let's get right into our weather headlines. We do have a chance to see some sporadic severe weather today in parts of the Great Lakes region. Both hail and wind will be possible in these areas, so we'll talk about that. And then getting into tomorrow, this risk will shift a little bit to the east, so some more of the Great Lakes region, as well as getting into the northeast, we'll see that chance for severe weather, so we'll talk about that. And then lastly, the tropics are finally starting to heat up a little bit. We have multiple systems to talk about, including one it's not named or anything yet, but something that we may have to really watch for us here in the United States. So we'll talk about that as well. But before we get into the forecast, we do have a few events coming up. The first one is this Saturday. Down at the University of Oklahoma. If you guys don't know, we do tailgate at all of the home games at the University of Oklahoma. So this game is going to be this Saturday, the 24th. The tailgate will begin at 3 p.m. and kickoff is at 7. So make sure you come on by and say hi to us at the booth. We have free food, free beer. We'll have the game playing as well. So don't miss this fun time. And then we have the RCAT MRCA Roofing Conference down in Fort Worth. And this is going to be from the 27th through the 29th. So if you're going to this conference, come on by and say hi to Hail Trace there. While we are counting down to fall, we are only 2 days away before we shift seasons here, whether Mother Nature wants to do that or not. So with the shifting of the seasons to fall, we could see some more active weather in the coming days. So let's check out yesterday's storm reports. We didn't have a whole lot of activity, just a few reports here. In the northeast, some scattered hail and wind reports across the region from New York eastward to basically south to Connecticut, and then one lonely report here in western Kansas. So again, a pretty quiet day overall in terms of severe weather. So here are our current conditions across the lower 48. The system that brought that severe weather yesterday in the northeast is starting to move off the coast. And then we have this disturbance here in the northern Great Lakes region that is already producing some severe weather. We have some storms starting to fire just to the south of Green Bay, southwestward to just the south of Madison, and then we have more activity in southwestern Michigan. This is starting to die off though as it moves off to the southeast, but more activity could fire up this afternoon and evening. And again, here's the system that brought that severe weather yesterday. It is moving off the coast into the Atlantic and just some lingering showers here in the northeast. So zooming back out to take a look at our temperatures, it is toasty once again here in the middle of the country. It's 94 in Kansas City, 91 in Dallas, and there's a warmer temperature stretch all the way to the East Coast. But behind that system in the northeast, you can see those temperatures are very pleasant. It's only 76 right now in New York City. It's 80 in Minneapolis, and that's a lot cooler as we get into the western part of the country as well. And then our dew points, you can see once we get into the mid 60s and higher, that's when we really start to notice those sticky conditions. You walk outside and it feels really muggy and uncomfortable. Well, that's what's going on right here in the middle of the U.S. It's 68 for a dew point from Minneapolis, as well as Chicago and St. Louis. Even more uncomfortable as we head to the Gulf Coast states with a 72-degree dew point in Atlanta, 74 in Miami. So a lot of moisture. It's going to be very uncomfortable there today for you guys. So here is our future radar. This particular model isn't picking up on the activity that's ongoing in the southwestern part of the state, but there are some other showers going on in the state of Michigan going on right now as well, which is what this model is picking up. But as we get into the afternoon, you can see some more isolated activity is expected to fire here in western Michigan. And then getting later on into the evening, this is at 9 p.m. Central Time, you can see some isolated storms are expected to develop as we get into, this is northwestern Wisconsin. So Rhinelander, just to the west of you guys, some stronger storms are possible there. And then we get into the overnight hours, a storm or two are still possible as we get later in the evening. But as we get into the overnight, for the most part, it should start to die off. So overall, the coverage today is once again, like yesterday, going to be pretty isolated, but we could see some large hail with any of those storms that do develop today into tonight. So here is today's hail forecast. Again, it's going to be from Wisconsin to northern Michigan down into western lower Michigan. So zooming on in here, I think the best chance to see large hail today is going to be in northwestern and north central Wisconsin. Wausau, you have I think the best chance to see that large hail. Up to golf ball size hail is possible across this region. Elsewhere in these areas, shaded in basically yellow. Minneapolis, you have a low end chance to see anywhere from $1/4 to $1/2 size hail. Again, I think it's going to be a very low end chance for you guys. And then low end chances from Marquette down to Green Bay, Milwaukee, eastward into Grand Rapids, Michigan. Again, $1/4 to $1/2 size hail is possible with any storms that do fire up this afternoon and evening. And then for the wind, basically the same areas. Up to 60-mile-per-hour gusts are possible. I think today it's going to be a better hail chance day. So just low end chances across the board to see those 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts from Minneapolis. Again, I think it's going to be an extremely low chance, but it's not zero, so that's why I included you guys. Minneapolis, eastward to most of Wisconsin, northward into northern, the upper parts of Michigan, and western Michigan as well. So let's get into tomorrow. This system will start to move off to the east. We'll wake up, a few showers will be around in western Pennsylvania. But as we get later on into the morning and into the early afternoon, you can see storms will be firing in Canada. And as we get later on in the afternoon, this is at 3 p.m. Central Time, so 4 p.m. Eastern, line of storms are expected to develop basically from Cleveland northward to Buffalo, Rochester, all the way up into northern New York. And this activity will move on to the east and spread out a bit. You can see Pittsburgh, you have a chance to see some severe weather tomorrow, as well as, again, Cleveland down to Indianapolis, maybe as far west as Detroit. You're going to be on the very, very western edge of this risk. And then as we get into the rest of the evening, more storms are expected to develop here along ahead of that front. And then getting into the overnight hours, just some more rain, maybe a rumble of thunder or two with activity as we near daybreak for our Wednesday. So let's break it on down. What are we thinking for hail? Well, I think it's going to be a low end chance for most of the risk area. I think the best chance to see anywhere from $1/4 to $1/2 size hail will be from Rochester down to Pittsburgh when those storms initially form. As we get into the rest of the afternoon and evening, it should become more of a wind threat. But a low end chance is still possible from Detroit down to Indianapolis and all the way eastward to Albany. So low end chance to see up to $1/2 size hail for you guys. And then for the wind, basically the same story. I think the best chances to see anywhere from 60 to maybe 70 mile per hour wind gusts will be when that line initially gets going. So Rochester down to Pittsburgh, I think you guys have the best chance to see those severe wind gusts. And then low end chances again from Detroit down to Indianapolis and eastward into Albany. Now let's get into our jet stream, seeing what's going on. Here is that trough that brought that severe weather yesterday. That's going to be moving off into the Atlantic, and then we have another little dip here that will be responsible for that potential for severe weather as we get into today and then getting into tomorrow. That will shift off to the east a little bit. And then we have that disturbance that was or continues to bring some wet weather in the west that will finally join in with the main jet stream, and we got to watch as we get into Thursday and Friday. That's the trough that will be bringing that severe weather today and tomorrow. That'll be digging a bit to the south and be moving off to the east as we get into the end of our work week and into our weekend, and then that next trough is moving on into the northern plains. And with that, not only will we have some storm chances possibly, but also some cooler weather across the northern part of the U.S., but down in the south it's going to unfortunately continue to be a bit toasty. So as we get into Thursday, we do have a chance to see some severe weather with that trough for most of central Virginia down into North Carolina, eastward into Maryland, and parts of southern New Jersey. So this is for our Thursday. Now, let's get into the tropics. It is finally starting to get a little bit interesting. So here is Fiona. She's now a major hurricane, a Category 3, and she's continuing to slowly move off to the north, impacting a few of the islands here in the Caribbean. So let's check out where she is going. So again, major hurricane, currently has winds up to 115 miles per hour. Fiona is going to continue to move off to the north as we go into tomorrow and into Thursday. It's expected to strengthen even further to a Category 4, but as you can see here, it's not really going to be hitting anything in terms of land, just a lot of water and fish, those poor fish. So as we get into Thursday evening, it will continue to be a Category 4, and then we'll continue to move off to the north and the Atlantic. Again, it's not expected to hit any land. Next, we have Tropical Depression 8. Also in the Atlantic, and not expected to hit anything as it's once again in the Atlantic. So right now it has winds up to 35 miles per hour. It's moving to the north at 10. This system is expected to become a tropical storm later on this evening, and if it does, which it's expected to, it will be Gaston. And again, it's not going to be really hitting anything, just a lot of water and fish. But it will move off to the east and then kind of just stall out here as we get into late Thursday and into Friday. So again, no threat to land there. Now lastly, we do have a disturbance in the parts of the Atlantic. It's not named yet or anything, but as I'll show you in just a second, with the potential where it may be heading, we gotta potentially watch it in the coming days once it does become named and all that fun stuff, for it to be heading not just into the Caribbean, but also into the Gulf of Mexico and possibly here to the U.S. So again, it's not named or anything yet. It's just something that we need to watch very carefully, and this is why. So right now, it has a 40% chance to develop within the next 2 days and a 70% chance to develop within the next 5 days. And once it does develop, this is the potential area of where it's going to be heading. And you can see it's going to be heading into the Caribbean. And then after that, so, I mean, this is still pretty far out, you guys. Could potentially enter the Gulf. So if you guys like that tropical weather and all that fun stuff, this is something that we really need to keep an eye on. But we aren't going to sound the alarms or anything yet. It's not even named yet, you guys. But we will be watching this one very carefully. And once, well, it looks like Gaston will be named with that Tropical Depression 8 later on this afternoon or evening. So after Gaston, it's going to be Hermine, and then Ian, and then Julia. So we could finally get some action around here, you guys. So stay tuned. Again, we still have to get this thing named. Just keep tuned here at Hail Trace, and we will keep you updated if something does develop and where it could be heading. And yeah, just lastly, here is our climatology. We are now past the peak of our tropical season, but you can see on average, we could still see activity from now through basically the end of the season is December 1st. So it's not like it drops off completely. We still have a decent chance to see, named systems for the next few months. So we're not even close to the end of the season. So you gotta make sure you stay tuned here to Hail Trace for any updated information. So that's all I have for you guys today. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and our TikTok page, where we've been trying to create more content for you guys, some behind the scenes. It's a lot of fun. But if you have any questions, concerns, if you just want to say hi, you can give us a call at 855-334-4245. You can email us at info@hailtrace.com, and to check out our website at www.hailtrace.com. And I am meteorologist Heather Kay. I hope you all have a great rest of your Tuesday.